Hey everybody, some Spuggy here coming at you another Borderlands 3 video. Today I want to show you this amazing combo that I figured out that allows you to deal up to 10 billion damage plus with some Tediore weapons. Now normally Tediore isn't really considered that great due to the recent global nerf of 50% less reload explosion damage that was given to all Tediore guns about a year ago. Just to show you the power of this particular build, I'm just going to real quick show a clip on the screen that shows me killing Sheer, which has about 10 to 11 billion HP in just one shot very easily. And generally this type of stuff isn't seen as much as it was about a year ago, because a year ago the whole reason why we got that nerf is because Tediores were often used to one-shot bosses, but I haven't quite seen anybody one-shot the Seer with a Tediore, so I'm really excited to actually show you this build. But before we get into meat and potatoes of the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and follow me on Twitch on the top right, and let's get into it.
Legendary? Whoa! No way, dude!
So first things first, the weapon that we're going to be using is a Needle Gun. Now the Needle Gun is the most damaging Tediore in the game due to the fact that the reload damage is going to deal hard damage times 500% times magazine size. And because magazine size is so important on this particular setup, we want to get as much magazine size as possible, which means we're using a Minesweeper with magazine size as well. But most importantly, we're using an artifact with magazine size, because artifacts with magazine size gives a whopping 73%. So we're going to right off the bat have 105% more magazine size, which is crucial to deal as much damage as possible with the Tediore setup. Tediores normally cannot crit unless they hit the head, but because we're using Moze, we can actually get a crit on the body shot like right that because of a certain skill point, Hold a Holy Pin. So every single time we throw a Tediore weapon, it's going to act like a grenade. So every single time we send out the Tediore, it's going to deal grenade damage, splash damage, weapon card damage, weapon damage multipliers. A bunch of different multipliers factor into the total damage of the actual Tediore chuck. But the important thing to note is that the Tediore chuck is going to be considered grenade damage. So Pull the Holy Pin gives a flat 2% increased damage on a body shot if we get a crit on there. Otherwise, Tediores can naturally crit on the head, which is very nice, as I will show in a few moments. There we go, it can naturally crit right there. And because of these crits, they can also proc Minesweeper, which then allows us to deal lots and lots of damage. The Seer kill that did up to 10 billion damage didn't actually have a Minesweeper proc. Interestingly enough, when every single time I tried this build on the Seer, I couldn't get the Tediores to proc Minesweeper, but it clearly can proc, because if you were to do it long enough on the Jack clone right here, you'll see that a grenade will proc off the Pull the Holy Pin. Hopefully it happens while I'm talking. Hold on, let me cut to a point where it actually happens. There we go, right there. So right there, it can proc with Pull the Holy Pin right there and naturally as well. But for some reason, I couldn't get it to proc on the Sheer, so I'm not sure if it's because of that boss or maybe it doesn't work on certain mobs. I'm not really sure. The important part is that the Needle Gun can deal lots and lots of damage. To allow us to deal as much damage as possible, we're going to use a certain grenade anointment that is normally used for like Peregrine setups and stuff like that. The when action skill is active, grenade damage increased by 150% will also allow us to deal more damage with our Tediore chuck because of the fact that it is considered a grenade. So you see right here, without a crit, it deals up to, well, we're getting a lot of crits. Hold on. Wow, we're getting consecutive crits. That's really crazy. Hold on. There we go. It did 8 million damage right there. That was crazy. We got so many crits. But if we have Iron Cub out, and after I wait for Revolter to actually go away, because Revolter is another key piece on this build to deal as much damage as possible, because, you know, of course it is. But most gimmicky builds benefit from Revolter. But while Iron Cub's out, we're gonna get the action skill active anointment on our gun and action skill grenade increased damage on our grenade as well, which will mean that we're going to see our damage number on a normal hit deal up to, that was about 35 million damage. I am not 100% certain. No, that was 34 million. So that's really crazy that it increased so much. So it's really important to get as much gun damage and grenade damage as possible on this build, which is rollable on the artifact and Minesweeper and class mod, but I don't actually have grenade damage secondary stats because we have other important stats such as splash damage, which will then allow us to deal more damage overall with everything, including the grenade chuck, aka the Tediore, and magazine size, as I said before. Now I'm using incendiary damage because incendiary damage increases fire and skag den damage, including action skill damage also increases skag den damage, which is very nice. Interesting enough, to deal the 10 billion damage I did on Sheer, I did have to switch over to a shock damage victory rush, so it's quite possible using a shock needle gun you'll get more total damage using a shock artifact, but it's quite possible that that was only the case because we were fighting a huge shielded target, but that's a topic for another day. Another key point that you probably saw is me swapping over to the Guardian Angel. So when I threw my Tediore, you'll notice that I swap over to the Guardian Angel to deal more damage. Right there, we did up to 150 million damage without any mayhem scaling, because we don't get any mayhem scaling in Sanctuary, so that's really insane. So definitely make sure to use a Guardian Angel. And as you see here, my Guardian Angel is very low ammo count, but we'll talk about why I have that in a few moments after we look at our skill tree. But just to show you the real power of this build, I'm going to go over to the Malawan takedown and just show you how much damage we can deal just baseline, because it's really huge. There's actually two other key pieces that we want on a Tediore Chuck build for mobbing, because the Needle Gun does lots and lots of damage with bossing, but we also want to be able to mob decently as well. So we have two weapons here, Keenfire and the Everblast. Now I'm going to tell you how you can tell which of these is going to be the homing and Merv variant, because you need the homing and Merv variant to allow yourselves to deal lots and lots of damage with mobbing, because that's the best two anointments that are reliably going to kill enemies. But before we get into that, I first want to give a huge shout out to Grey Wolf 5150. He is a YouTuber that is decently small. He's very underrated. He has a lot of really good builds, and he actually came up with this needle gun idea on Amara and showed me all these cool one-shots he was doing, and he couldn't quite one-shot the Seer. And after some evaluation, I was like, let me just try it with Moze, and using a new mix of things and everything, I was able to allow myself to deal 10 billion damage plus with a Tediore weapon, which is unheard of, especially after the global nerf. So it's very exciting that we were able to get that. So big thanks to Grey Wolf. There's going to be a link to his channel in the description, in the comments, and top right as well. He's a huge factor on why I even decided to do this build. So how you can tell the Keenfire or the Power Blast is going to be a Merv is going to be the symbols underneath the actual barrel of the gun. There's going to be backward Ks on the SMG, and there's going to be sideward Hs on the shotgun. So that's going to determine that it's Merv, but the tricky part is telling if it's going to be homing or not. So with shotguns, it's going to have this really interesting like wiring right here that actually tells you it's going to be homing. Normally they don't have this cool little wiring, but this wiring just determines that it's going to be a homing variant for the Tediore, and this is going to be another wiring on the SMG to determine it's going to be homing. So make sure to look out for those and the symbols underneath the barrel on your purple Tediores. There's a ton of different variants you can get on purple Tediores or any purples in the game, so this type of stuff is really hard to get. So don't be afraid to use my save file in the comments and description as well, so you can try out this build very easily. But let's actually start heading over to some enemies so we can show you how much damage that these two purples can actually deal. And just show you the true power of this build, I'm going to switch over to the true Malawan takedown just because of how much damage we can actually deal with this. It should be a cakewalk for us. So I'm just going to start chucking at the turret guys right here, and you'll notice that each one of these reloads are just going to instantly kill the target very easily. We're dealing up towards 100 million damage even with the purples, which is very nice. Normally you would only think that you would see these type of damage on the actual needle gun due to the fact that the needle gun is the most damaging reload Tediore out there, but the purples do deal lots of damage, and they home out to multiple enemies, which then in turn allows us to kill multiple enemies at the same time. Sometimes they'll even target an enemy that's like really far away, you aren't even expecting it, but we're able to deal lots and lots of damage on these foes very easily, as you can see right here. Occasionally we will get some Minesweeper procs as well on these enemies. Even if we wanted to, we could just lace into them like normal, like using the Minesweeper to hit the crit spots and deal lots of damage as well, if you guys are into that. Now you notice that I am not getting any short fuse procs, and that's because our skill tree looks a little bit different than you would expect on a build like this. We'll get into the skill tree after we kill the Valkyrie squad. And don't be afraid to use type of ammo efficiency by just switching over to the Guardian Angel every single time you throw down a reload, just so you can optimize in your ammo efficiency, because reload just because Tediore setups get rid of so many different it basically gets rid of ammo super fast. So you definitely want to make sure that you are using your Tediore chucks as efficiently as possible, because otherwise you're going to run out of ammo very easily. Luckily for us, the Malawan takedown is going to have a decent amount of vendors. So funnily enough, before we actually got to the Valkyrie squad, my game actually crashed. So I'm going to real quick activate the true takedown again and go back over to the Valkyrie squad. But I do want to explain that the anointment we have on our true purples are the kill stack, because the reload speed allows us to throw the weapon out there faster, which is very convenient. As you you saw in the clip, you probably saw me throwing my SMG or Tediore like really quickly, which is very nice. And as well, the bonus weapon damage does in fact allow us to deal more damage with our reload as well. And on our Guardian Angel, I did not get to mention, but we have the above 90% HP increase our damage by 150%, which then also allows us to deal more damage as well, very reliably for one-shots. But let me skip over to the Valkyrie squad so you can actually see the damage on that boss. And that was a one-shot on the Kraken that I didn't get to showcase, so I'm just going to put that in the video right there because that was pretty crazy. So since we're actually active Valkyrie squad, I'm just going to toss my gun right there, and you'll see that it instantly kills the target very easily. And all the enemies that are going to spawn, you'll also see get killed very easily as well. And unfortunately, these guys are not going to their location as fast as I would want them to, but it's okay, because we're going to be able to kill these guys really quickly right here. And then since we're done with that, going to switch back over to the needle gun. That guy gets down real quickly, and then the next set of enemies are going to spawn, and we're going to get those down as fast as possible as well. Swap over to the Guardian Angel just to get as much damage as possible, which is always nice to be able to optimize. And then we're just going to throw that. Iron Cub unfortunately is dealing some damage there, so we didn't get to see my Tediore one-shot the fool right there, but it's fine because we're still dealing lots and lots of damage, which is always nice to see. So that group is finally done. We're going to do the same thing, toss our needle gun, switch over to Guardian Angel. That one's instantly downed as well. And then the final set of enemies going to spawn, and we're going to clear it very quickly as well. I accidentally canceled my reload there. If you swap the gun a little bit too quickly, you will see it won't actually activate, which is a bit unfortunate. So we got all these guys out. I'm just going to throw out my needle gun as much as possible. I'm not even going to switch to Guardian Angel, and these guys are going to get down very easily. Without Guardian Angel, those guys got down very easily in just one shot. Now that we killed the Valkyrie squad, let's look at our skill tree. Now our skill tree is going to look really weird. For those of you who don't know, Moze normally wants short fuse, and Moze doesn't normally get the capstone on red. We're going to be optimizing Tediore chucks, so we got to build a little bit differently because Tediore chucks don't benefit from short fuse. It doesn't benefit from the normal stuff that you normally think it would, but of course, it does benefit from Fire to Skag that have 5 points, and that 5 points toward cross promotion, deal more splash damage. As I said before, pull to Holy Pin's nice. And then we want to have Iron Cub out there as much as possible. Deadline allows us to get some nice fuel economy, which is nice. It'll return some of our fuel every single time we kill an enemy, which happens very often, as you guys know. And then Grizzled allows us to get Iron Cub back as soon as possible, because if we don't have Iron Cub active, we're not going to get that nifty grenade anointment that allows us to deal lots and lots of damage. And then when Iron Cub is away, we do have Auto Bear to allow Iron Cub still to be out there technically, and Spirit, but without the active bonuses, but still allows us to deal decent amount of damage and have some support and utility on the sideline as well. And then the red tree, we are primarily going to have the important points: Dranium Brass, Desperate Measures, Flak Doctrine, and Thin Red Line. 2 points to Thin Red Line because 3 points eliminates health gating. We want health gating, especially on a build like this, but we have Desperate Measures that allows us to get as much damage as possible from the 2 Thin Red Line, which is nice. Dranium Brass increases our Tediore chucks. Flak Doctrine is basically an infinite damage source, which is very nice. That of course also increases our Tediore chuck. And then every single time we activate our Iron Cub, or even when our shield gets depleted, Tenacious Defense is going to proc. So if we have action skill N, the Revolter, Tenacious Defense also activates on that. So that's a free 30% more gun damage on top of the Revolter activating as well, which is very nice to increase the damage as much as possible, especially for one shots like on the shear. And then our green tree is going to look really funky. So it's primarily going to be used to get magazine size from match set and the Iron Bank, but we have Stoke the Ember to increase our incendiary damage, Scrappy to increase our gun damage, Rushing Offensive to get some health gating. So we can start sprinting if we know that the homing Tediore is going to hit a target. It's going to instantly regenerate all our HP. And then click is the interesting part here. So click basically means that the less magazine we have, the more damage we're going to deal. This doesn't really apply to the Tediores because every single time we send out Tediore, it's going to instantly regenerate our magazine. So we don't get much benefit from this unless you were to be crafty with Guardian Angel, which I forgot to actually actually do on this particular kill of the Valkyrie squads, but basically what you want to do with the Guardian Angel is have it at 1 magazine, and then when you swap over to it on your Tediore chuck, it's going to get the benefits from the 3 click for the extra 60% more damage. Because we're at 1 magazine, I believe it's only going to give us up to 57 bonus gun damage, but that's still a huge amount because 50% more damage is very, very nice. And then finally we go over to the purple tree with Big Surplus. This Big Surplus has crazy mayhem scaling, so when Iron Cub is actually away, we're going to get bonus incendiary damage, which is comparable to the amount of damage we would get with our active skill active. Not quite exactly comparable, but it's decent enough to give us an advantage while we wait for Iron Cub to come back. So that's very, very nice. So I'm just going to skim through the skill tree again for those who are curious. And I heavily encourage you guys to try the setup because it's really, really fun, and it's a fun, unique way to actually kill any boss. Normally, you don't one-shot with Tediore, but you can one-shot the Seer with this build, which is very, very crazy. And then as always, a big thanks to our members 31bar70, Clairvoyance, Jace Noodles, and Galaxies. These are the people that support me for as little as $5 a month, and you also can support me as little as $5 a month by clicking the link on the top right or the comments in the description to become a member. The more of you that become a member will eventually allow me to become full-time, which then allow me to make more videos for you guys. So as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye.